Yes, it is obvious that I'm not in church today. My name is George Boston Rhymes. I'm in Valdosta, Georgia. Today is September the 30th, 2012. I'm here today to let you know just a little bit more about what's going on in your beloved community. Here in Valdosta, Georgia, we still see vestiges of an 1860 Valdosta City Charter, which were to keep us ignorant. I have reported about the sewage backup over in Brooks County. I have reported to you over and over again about the 30 jail deaths in the Valdosta and Lowndes County Jail, and that we are leading the state of Georgia in jail deaths. I have reported over and over again that the people who are in power seems to care less about the low, economically oppressed people in our beloved community. The city of Valdosta just did a response to impediments that were identified by G.B.R. out of Texas. This was not the first study done about federal funds on the hood coming into the community, yet not being distributed to the people that the federal government intended for these funds to go. Mr. John Robertson and myself have been on the forefront for the last 3 to 4 years, maybe 4+ years, trying to bring some equilibrium to how our local governments are treating the people in the low economically depressed areas of our community. We cannot make it any clearer than we have already done. There was a meeting called about the community housing situation. A committee was set up. Not a single one of us who have worked to try to get the city government. We met with former mayor John Freddy, city manager Larry Hanson, Mark Barber, Lowndes County chairman of the Board of Commissioners, Mr. Pritchard, people at VSU, people at the Industrial Authority, Mr. Lawson. We met with all of these people. And we thought that we were getting somewhere. We thought that for once, our elected officials would reach out and try to make a difference to the people who had been locked out of a system for so long. Just keep us as a people backing up, while our sons and daughters continues to fill the jails, the prisons, the probation rolls, and to be denigrated as if though black African Americans does not care, does not about their families, their children, or anything. Many in our community, including black people who are on various committees, and I do mean black people who are on various committees. In the eyes of black people, they don't serve our needs. I am impressed with Councilman James Wright when he highlighted the situation of federal dollars and the excess of funds that come into the city but are not filtered to the black African American and the poor white communities here in Valdosta and Lowndes County, Georgia. So Councilman Wright sat there with other blacks on the council who didn't say not one word along the lines of the black African American communities not being treated equally as some other parts of Valdosta. That is not a disgrace. We have always had blacks that sit on councils and work against their own people, and when it comes down, they could not talk because they were given positions and put in positions, but could not speak with an independent mind for the suffering people in their beloved community. So this is nothing new. We have a history of black people doing this. And we have a history of white people who can feel the pain of the black African American community, and they stand up with everything that is within them because right is in their hearts. Oh, they may not go to church, they may not go to mosque, they may not go to synagogue, they may not go to temple or any other places of worship and holler hallelujah or hallelujah or hallelujah. But they had the heartbeat of the black African American community. And we are sick and tired of black people being on these various committees but don't represent the people that put them in the office. And I will say again that we need to vote them out of office the first opportunity that we get. Now, I respect James Wright. Let me correct that. Councilman Wright, for refusing to go to the retreat. I also respect him at the last council meeting, wherein he abstained from a vote by Mayor Gale and Larry Hanson put before the council in the absence of Sonny Vickers and in the absence of Mr. Payton, who were not at the meeting. Councilman Wright abstained from the meeting to send a proclamation to the legislators and the other people, and really to me it was against the President of the United States about cutting the deficit among the military and the Defense Department. But why is it and how could it be? Listen to me, because I love you. Please listen to me. Why would our city council vote along the lines of the political racial divide, or rather the political divide, at city government against the president? Why would they do that? I have been trying to get them to issue a request to ask Republican Governor Nathan Deal to investigate the 30 deaths that we've had out there in the Lowndes County Jail. I have brought pictures before them with a white lady with all of her teeth knocked out in the front, gouges on her hand and feet, and they said absolutely nothing. I have explained to the city council and the county commissioners of a jail death along with Sheriff Pine of an alleged taser death in the jail in medical on March the 8th, 2010. I have 9 names of people, including members of Lifesaver, the coroner, the people and staff that works at medical, one lady that lives over here in a subdivision, over here by Scott Park. I got her name, I'm just not releasing it, who knows about that death, but nobody is talking about it. Nothing has been in the Valdosta Daily Times. And at the Democratic meeting in February, I asked the sheriff about this alleged death, wherein an individual was tased repeatedly, and as a result, died. And I have yet to receive even a courteous reply. And so I cannot understand, but then again, I can understand. How could all these churches be here in Valdosta? All these people who profess to love Jesus, God, Mohammed, and the son of Amram and Yoshabel, Moses, but they sit back in their churches on Sunday morning, in prayer service on Friday night, and Bible study on Wednesday night, and choir rehearsal on Saturday night. And they sit, and they sit, and they sit, and they sit, and they back up, 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 while our black children are going to hell. But who cares about our children? So when they wear their pants down, you come out the closet and you criticize them, but your mind is down. So why are you criticizing them for their minds, for their pants being down, when our minds are down? And we should be mad as hell about it. Just because a black man sits in the White House today, Rush Limbaugh, Glenn Beck, and the rest of the crowd, they are coming out now. And they are saying it with venom, just how they feel. And if we had done what they are doing towards the other 43 all-white male presidents that denied us the right to vote, denied us the right to go into a restaurant, denied us the right to use a public bathroom, denied us the right to be a human being, considered 3/5 of a human being by the government of America. So I say to you, where are the black leaders today? Why can't we hear the black leaders today? Why can't we hear them? Where are the preachers? Where are the teachers? Where are the retired members of law enforcement who know what's going on and they refuse to say anything? Don't you know that our black sons and daughters went into Vietnam, went into Kuwait, went into many other war-torn areas to die for the rights of foreigners? But they cannot stand up and fight for the black man and the white right people here in America. And yet we claim to be the land of the free and home of the brave. We talk about free speech and freedom of the press, but they are pressing us to the wall. You didn't hear nothing about the Quitman 10. Just had a status in the court of Brooks County. And the Quitman Free Press just reported an article, skipped a week, and then reported, I believe, because I said something. If I had not said nothing, it wouldn't have been nothing. And so somewhere, I got to do what I'm doing. You don't support me, but that's okay. Jesus said, and ye shall know the truth, and that the truth would set you free. And so you can go to church, you can go to your mosque, you can go to your synagogue, you can go to your temple. But if you cannot stand up for the least of God's children, then you, like me, are a liar, and the truth is not in you. So you can dress up in your three-piece suit and proclaim that you love Jesus. Well, how can you love Jesus when you fail to love Jesus' children? Jesus said, and he said it so plainly, if you see the least of these, my brethren, and you can't feed them, you can't clothe them, you can't visit the widows and the orphans, then what in the hell or the heaven are you going to church for? Now, I don't mean to be blunt, but somebody got to part the waters of this dispensation as Moses parted the water in his dispensation. I got 3 children and 4 grandchildren, and I love them. Dr. King was not a fool. Dr. King was a man that was ruled by a spirit of the living God that lived within his soul. Didn't nobody walk with him for the most part. Call me a liar if you want to. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. walked alone. And I know this is on YouTube. And I know Al Sharpton gonna hear this. And I know Joseph Lowry gonna hear this. And I know other big men gonna hear this. But I'm saying to you, disapprove me if you can. Dr. King said these words, and I'm not a smart man, but I'm smart enough to know what I know. Dr. King said that the best friend that he had in the world was Ralph Abernathy. And in the end, was it not Ralph Abernathy that came out with venom against that man? Was it not Ralph Abernathy to talk about the negative things about him? We should not find that strange. Look at the life of Jesus. Jesus said in his own words, if the red writing is right in the Bible, what did Jesus say? Jesus said, have I not chosen ye 12, and one of you is a Judas? Let's not stop there. Let's go back and pick up what King David said, a man who was after God's own heart. What did he say? He said, a man's enemies would be they of his own household. So I don't look outside of the black community to find my enemies. My enemies are in the black community. My enemies are the preachers. My enemies are the teachers. My enemies are the leaders. My enemies are the mothers and fathers who have been blinded and hoodwinked under the spell of the Leviathan while they go to church, but they don't even know that they are being influenced by the spell of the Leviathan. And so God's gonna send more people. They're gonna stand up like Dr. King, gonna stand up like Moses, and they're gonna be killed as Dr. King. But there are some of us, though we suffer and though we die, by the blood of the Lamb we shall overcome. And when you kill us, the God of our ancestors is gonna send another one of us to make you do what you're supposed to do today. Because somewhere I read, heavens and earth would pass away, but my truth gonna stand forever. So I'm a minister of the gospel, but I don't go to your churches for the most part. Why don't I go to play the games, imitate and duplicate the Jesus that you say you believe in? I know this is blunt. I know this is hard. I know you're gonna call me kafir, but there comes a time in this life when the truth must be told to expose the Rush Limbaughs, the Glenn Becks, the Star Parkers, and the others who control the newspapers, the radio, and the television station who are working against the teachings of Jesus. And if you can't see that, then you are a Satan yourself. Now, let me apologize to you if I hurt your feelings. Let me apologize if anything that I've heard, which was nothing more than the truth, if you can condemn me on what I'm saying as you watch this on YouTube and nationally around the world, if you can disapprove me on what I'm saying, then call me in on the carpet and refute what I'm saying. But I tell you, you cannot deny, you can't refute a word that I said, because I'm not speaking nothing but the truth of Jesus Christ. When I talked about you killing people, they killed Jesus. They didn't kill Jesus because he had long hair. They didn't kill Jesus because he had his pants down. They killed Jesus because Jesus brought you the truth. Because Jesus wanted you free. And I want you free. And I want our children free. And I want my grandchildren free. And so, you don't have to give me any money to support me in what I'm doing. I don't want to be rich. Moreover, I don't even want to go to heaven with you. I don't even want to sit down with your Jesus. I don't want to sit down with your Moses. I don't want to sit down in the company of your Abraham. If your God, if your Jesus, if your Moses, if your Abraham can sit down and see the hell and the mistreatment that is going on in God's world, and all you can do is go to a building and sit down, duplicate, imitate, and placate that great man, then I don't want to go to heaven with you. Sorry about that. I don't want it. I don't want to be with your God. If your God can see people perishing in the Lowndes County Jail, some are being tased, and you don't even ask a question about it, When you see federal dollars coming into the community that are excluded from poor people, and you can't say nothing, and your God tell you that it's okay. I don't want to go to heaven with you. I don't even love your God. There's another God that I'm looking at. I'm looking at the God and the Jesus in the Bible say, when you see the least of these, my brethren, and you don't help them, you don't clothe them, you don't feed them, you don't shelter them, that is the God, and those are the people that I want to be with. I want to be with people who care about somebody else outside of themselves. And I want to close in this note. Some of you all are afraid for my life. Don't be afraid for me. Be afraid for yourself and your own children. And this is the same thing Jesus said. When you've been beat over the head and suffered so much, you can speak these words. And let me say this. This is a gas car. This is a gas car. Shell gas car. A black man didn't give me that. A white man, a black woman didn't give me that. A white lady at Let's Eat restaurant Friday handed me this card. Said, Ryan, we know the work that you are doing. We know what you are doing. And we don't want nobody to support you. Maybe this will help you. How many times have black folk done that? How many times have black folk said, Brother Ryan, thank you. I don't need your thank you anyway, to tell you the truth. If you all supported me and made me a millionaire overnight, you were scared of living hell out of me. Brother Ryan, why did you say that? Because when you can align yourself with the real God and the real Jesus of the universe, people ain't supposed to love you. They're not supposed to give you a $50 gas car. They're supposed to give you living hell. And then in the end, they're supposed to stack your behind on a cross and put nails in your hand to tell you how much they love you. That's the love of a real prophet of God. Look at Dr. King. Look at Noble Drew Ali. Look at Mr. Robeson, who had to go overseas. Look at Malcolm X. Look at Elijah Muhammad. Look at Jesse Jackson. Look at Louis Farrakhan. Look at the great leaders of our time. And see the pain that they would thrust upon them because they loved and not hated. Dr. King never asked the president for his birth certificate. Dr. King never said a president was a Hitler. Dr. King never said a president was a Judas. Dr. King never called a president of the United States a clown. But this black man that's sitting in the Oval Office by God's permission, and Glenn Beck and Rush Limbaugh, I do mean by God's permission. Because if it was not the will of God, he would not be sitting there. I'm not talking about your God, and I'm not talking about your Jesus. I'm not talking about your Moses and your Elijah, but I'm talking about the Elijah and the Jesus of the living God that put all this in place. The water that we drink, the sun we benefit from, the green vegetation, the butter bean that we eat. That's the God I'm talking about, Glenn Beck. And by the way you talk on radio, you don't know him. You haven't seen him. You haven't read his book. And you won't even listen to the people who know that God in comparison to your God. For my ancestors, God told me to love ye one another. And when you find a man in fault, you go to that brother and you try to give him the good and not the bad. But all you can do is call this president a devil. I'm going to close this out now. But I want you all to know that I talk like this because I'm pregnant. I am pregnant. And I'm delivering birth. I got over 200 videos to Walmart Stores Incorporated because they mistreat their workers. And I'm talking directly to the president of Walmart, Bill Simon, Mike Duke, Lee Scott, President McCullough. You need to straighten up and treat your workers right. But Brother Ryan, how do you know? I was a department manager, and they terminated me under the heading of inability to perform job, and they never entered me, for whatever reason, into a 4-week training program. I retired from the United States Armed Forces. I did 21 years fighting for the defense of others, only to come home to Georgia and have to fight all over again. But I don't mind it, it's okay, because that is the burden that have been thrust upon me. And I may not love doing it, but I don't have a choice. It's just like Jesus from the cross of Calvary. If these people hate the president so much, why don't they do what Jesus said to those that murdered him? Jesus looked out among the crowd of President Obama. He looked out among the crowd of everybody that worked against him, who didn't have any room for him in the end. They looked out at Jesus. The Rush Limbaughs and the Glenn Becks were standing all around. But what did Jesus say to those that mistreated him? Jesus said, forgive them, for they know not what they do. And if I come to bring truth to you, and if you don't listen to what I'm saying, I'm not going to fight you. I'm not going to strike out at you. I'm not going to harm you. I'm simply going to say to you out of great love and passion, peace be unto you. And I love you because you do not know what you're doing. You do not know what you're doing. This is George Boston Rhymes in Valdosta, Georgia. I speak like this because I love you. As you see the water pumping up from this little pond in Peyton Park, remember when Jesus talked about the living waters, he was not talking about that kind of water. He was talking about the kind of water that is on this video. He is talking about the water that is on nearly 2,000 videos that I got on YouTube. I do it because I love you. Today is September the 30th, 2012. It has been 4 years and 6 months that Walmart have ignored me. And I'm going to continue to say to Walmart, treat your workers right. Treat your active duty military right. Treat your retired military veterans right. Because in the end, God gonna win anyway, and you gonna lose. Bye-bye, we gone.